Afternoon lecture. Just to remind you, my name is Carmine Biancardi. I am Italian, so I hope you forgive me my little accent. I will try to do my best. Today, I feel like I am a little bit a professor here, but I will make it extremely simple. Just giving you a resume of myself, beside the fact of being an historian, I have been and I am a scientist. I've been working on the 5 continents with the most important organization in this field. There are other fields starting from United Nations, NATO, European Commission, European Parliament, Italian, French, German, British government, and so on. However, I try to make this topic in a way that can be interesting and challenging for all of us to have an understanding of what's going on in the Amazonia and what is the future of the Amazonia and what would be the impact on our climate. First of all, let's summarize that there is not only this tropical rainforest. There are a number of tropical rainforests around the world. Of course, the major one is this one in the Amazonia, and the second one is in the Congo, here in Africa. However, the Amazon rainforest is a vast biodiverse ecosystem which is vital for the Earth's climate. I believe most of you know about that. If you heard it, or you learn from the news, from newspaper, from books, from Google, from social media, and so on. But why the Amazon rainforest is so important? Why it is so important? Because if the Amazon rainforest would disappear, humanity will face a severe consequences due to the resulting climate changes. That's something we're going to see. And this scenario is extremely well documented by past, actual, and future researchers, by organizations, by independent review, and so on. To give you an example, this is a nice example. This is the Amazon forest here. And we have impact of the climate, what's going on here in the Amazon, with the various areas from the Earth, from the Antarctic to the Arctic to the Tibet. And there are 2 kinds of connections. One is called the teleconnections, which is the climatic interconnections which exist from one place to another place on the Earth. And this is represented here. And the other one is the connectivity, which is the direct relationships between one part of the world to another part. So from this, you understand that the Amazon is connected with different areas in terms of climate. So whatever is going to happen is happening. It happened in the Amazon rainforest, has have and will have an impact on different areas of the Earth. This is a typical area of the rainforest. As I say, the Amazon rainforest is the largest tropical rainforest in the world. And the second one is the Congo Basin, the world's second largest rainforest. However, the impact of the Amazon rainforest is much, much bigger than any other rainforest around the world. To give you an idea, this is a comparison. I know most of you are from the United States, so I made an overlapping map of the United States with the Amazon rainforest. To give you how large is really the Amazon rainforest, to have an understanding, the Amazon rainforest is 2.7 million square miles, or 7 million square kilometers, while the contiguous United States is 3.1 million square miles. So you have really in mind how big is this Amazon rainforest. But keep in mind that Amazon rainforest is a living environment. It means it can become larger, smaller, it can go up and down. It's living because it's made by a biodiversity, which is like living actors. The other point is, I'm representing here the likes of the Amazon. But why is the Amazon rainforest called the lung of the planet Earth? Why? There are very simple reasons. Like our lungs, we absorb oxygen and we give out carbon dioxide, which is the CO2. Similarly, the Amazon forest acts the same way, the way it has been built. So it takes the carbon dioxide and releases oxygen. If it works properly, this is the issue. So right now, it absorbs about 25% of the atmospheric CO2, which is a very large amount. Keep in mind that we are over 8 billion people living on the Mother Earth, and we are growing. It means more and more activities are increasing, creating CO2. On the other side, up today, the Amazon forest produces about 6% of the oxygen of the Earth's atmosphere by using the process of photosynthesis. Now, I understand, I'm sure most of you know what is photosynthesis. You know, you have the day activity and the night activities. During the day activities, basically what we have, the sun creates that the leaves will absorb carbon dioxide and will release oxygen, water, and glucose on sugar. On the night, we have the reverse system. Absorb oxygen and release carbon dioxide, and so on. To be a little bit a professor, I show you the formula of photosynthesis. But it's very simple, extremely simple. Look at that. You have 6 CO2, 6 parts of CO2, 6 parts of water, and what do you get? You get sugar, and you get 6 parts of oxygen. Is that amazing? If you could, I mean, you know that these days researchers are producing machines that are able to do that. Of course, we are not yet ready to produce the quantity of oxygen that we need in the world artificially right now. Maybe in the future we will. I mean, I'm a scientist, so I believe that everything can be achieved with the great engineering. Now, what is the environment around the Amazon forest? Just to give you a short idea, the Amazon rainforest, even though it is a living environment, it covers about 40% of South America. So it's a huge amount of things. And you know how many people live there? Approximately, these days, 33 million of inhabitants, which include indigenous and other kind of people living there. And as you see here, there are a number of countries around the Amazon forest. And some of them, they share even the forest. This is a percentage. The largest percentage is owned by Brazil, with 64%. And the second and the third one is Peru, Colombia, and Bolivia. And then all the other countries having a share of the rainforest. This is important because you understand that each country has a different politics, a different strategy, a different protocol, how they want to manage the forest. Now, let's see what are the major geographical features. How big is this in terms that we can visualize when we compare with the United States? Now, what are the size? Of course, keep in mind that I told you is a living environment, so it's not always the same. But basically, the forest starts around here with about 200 miles from the Atlantic. We are right in this area right now. We are almost entering the Amazon River. And it goes up here. This is the Andes. This is the sort of the big mountain of South America. They go up here about 1,200 miles. So this area gives you an idea of how big is this Amazon River basin. Now, let's understand what is the Amazon biome. I don't know how many of you heard about the biome. So I will try to be, again, a little bit a professor to explain you what is a biome, because this is the most important biome for the Earth. Understand, what is usually, now I made it specifically for the Amazon forest. The biome is a vast ecological region which is consisting in this case of the Amazon rainforest, which has spanning parts in about 7 countries. What are the key features of the Amazon biome? It's home of about 10% of all known species, including unique animals like jaguars and river dolphins. Yeah, there are river dolphins. I will talk to you tomorrow morning about this in the Amazon River. The ecosystem services is crucial for carbon storage and oxygen production, as we say on the photosynthesis. So the Amazon forest store the CO2 and release oxygen. The water system. The Amazon River is an extensive wetlands. Much more if you compare than, for example, Florida. It is huge wetlands, which is vital for the local ecosystem. It's inhabited by a diverse variety of indigenous communities. They have a deep ties to the land. So this is the Amazon biome. Why it matters? Why it's so important? Because protecting this biome will protect the biodiversity, the climate regulation, and the cultural heritage. Of course, today we understand that even protecting the culture, the local cultural heritage is important for us as a global, as a world citizen. Unfortunately, you see in this graph, this is the biome, the yellow one. Unfortunately, something has been is happening, and will be happening in the future, which is somehow making disappearing a part of the forest. This is what is called deforestation. And this will have an impact on the animals, on the trees, on the plants, and on the people living over there, and on the global climate of the world. The other important aspect of the Amazon rainforest is the water. The Amazon River carries about 20% of the planet's fresh water to the sea. If you compare with other parts of the world, with the East 4,000 miles line, so you see this river is 6,000 miles, which is the second largest river in the world. However, in terms of fresh water that the river is delivering to the water, to the sea, and you see how the color of the water has changed as we are approaching the Amazon River, is providing 209,000 cubic meters per second to the sea, which is more than the next 6 larger rivers combined. So you can understand the contribution of the water of the Amazon River basin to the world water. What is the cycle of the water? This is a very complex one to understand. But basically, what is that? From any place where you have water, there is an evaporation, right? The evaporation going condensation, then there is the precipitation. It goes back from the surface. There is a different way that the water can get back to the ocean or to the other water sources, or from the mountain, it can go on the sublimation, or with transpiration, which happens in the Amazon. It goes back to this. So the cycle is like the water is always recycling itself. If I want to make it simpler, let's make it simpler. This is a much simpler description of what's happening, right? The water is a cycle. So basically, if everything works properly, we never lose the water. The water always comes back. Whatever becomes ice or steam or ice, the water is a cycle. It will be always there. However, there is another activity, which is called evotranspiration. This is exactly what happened in the rainforest. If the rainforest, the Amazon rainforest, works properly. You see, you have the precipitation goes in the plant, this evaporation, or the transpiration of the plant. This is extremely important. How you see when you go, if the ones of you will go in the rainforest, you will see this. You will see this sort of steam coming from it. This is the evotranspiration of the trees. So if you are going in the forest, you will see exactly this one. Keep in mind that in the Amazon rainforest, there are about 3 billion trees, which acts as a giant pumps, pumping the water with the transpiration, with evotranspiration back to the atmosphere. Now, what is that? This is the Milky Way. I want to give you a measure, which has been a picture which has been taken over the Amazonia village of Cafetal in Bolivia. But there are more trees in the Amazon than stars in the Milky Way. You know, they counted how many stars there are in the Milky Way. And you cannot count the trees. Trees are many, many more than the one of stars you have in the Milky Way. As we move, of course, this is not always the same, because actually we have 2 seasons. We are about the equator, so we have basically 2 seasons. One season is the wet season duration, which is exactly right now. It's from December to May rainfall. Maybe you heard that in October, November, there was a shortage of water in the river, and the big ship like this one could not go up to Manaus. Now we are in the rainfall, so the water is coming down. It's likely we can find rain when we are in Manaus, or we are in the Amazon. And the Amazon can receive between 6 to 12 inches per month. On the other side, dry season is from June to November. Still, there is a rainfall, which is a little bit smaller, from 2 to 4 inches. So what happened? When you get in the season like this one, you have this situation of the Amazon rainforest, which would be lush foliage. On the other side, on the dry season, you have the big tree and the roots. They are coming out in the dry season because they are looking for the water. So what does it mean? That the rainforest is a giant carbon sponge. Like a sponge, it absorbs the CO2, which is extremely helpful for the earth. Where does it go, the CO2? Basically, the only place where you can have really an exchange that you can absorb is in the water and with the trees. These are basically the 2 situations in which you can absorb CO2 from the atmosphere. Because you know that CO2 at a certain level is not safe for us as human beings, and even for animals and plants. I will soon come on that point. So this gives you a short, complex diagram of what happened. You know, the situation is that as you have changes in the atmosphere, you can have changes in this carbon sponge of the Amazon. So I don't want to explain you any diagram. I want just you to understand the concept, the principle. This is you take a size almost like United States. This is the sponge, which is absorbing the CO2. But how much really the Amazon sequesters in the carbon? How much is that? Just to give you an idea, the Amazon rainforest absorbs 1/4 of the CO2 by all land on the earth. So and is never, in the 90s, was even no less than 30% of CO2. So you understand how important is that, particularly since we are more than 8 billions, we have more activities to do, more production, and so on, so there is always more CO2 in the earth. The Amazon, the trees in the Amazon rainforest, that's why the trees are important, they hold 48 billion tons of carbon. Now you say, yeah, but what does it mean, 48 billion tons on the carbon? Keep this number in mind. If there is a climate change, what can happen? There will be more carbon dioxide released and less is absorbed. And this is the situation we don't want to create on our Mother Earth. The risk is that instead to be the carbon dioxide storage, the Amazon could become a source of CO2. And how this can happen? Because you see on this side, you see the situation here on this side. Today, if we start by burning and deforesting, there would be releasing of carbon dioxide. But another, I mentioned before that beside the trees, also the water bodies absorb carbon dioxide. So they are super sinks for the carbon dioxide. Because of the vastity of the river, it's even more than the forest. Some research have highlighted that about 39% are captured by the different rivers and lakes in the Amazon rainforest. So, but the problem is that we have to preserve the forest to sequester another 10% of this carbon. So this is another aspect of protecting wetlands. And you say, why we're talking about that? I will tell you why, because something else is happening in the Amazon rainforest. And the people are exploiting even the water bodies for different reasons. So I'm repeating here what happened in the various situations. You have the intact forest, which is the situation you want to keep the forest. This is the biomass losses. So it's like a degradation of the rainforest in some areas. This is the worst situation where we have a biomass. Means that there is no trees, no plants, little water. So it becomes like a biomass and is delivering to the earth a lot of carbon dioxide. So we are right now in a SOS situation. The Amazonia is in a SOS situation since a number of years. And you heard about that. There's a deforestation in the Amazon. It's a complex and interconnected issue. Why? It's both an environmental and a social issues. And the matter is that impact of this goes far behind the Amazon, which is affecting the entire planet. What is the contributing factors? The cattle ranching, infrastructure development, they're building roads, the construction of large dams, so they're modifying water bodies, and the small-scale subsistence farming. This gives you an idea of the percentages of the various local activities are giving right now. About 65-70% is from cattle ranching. The small-scale agriculture is 20-25%, and then there is the other one at delivering this impact. What would be, summarize the consequences of mitigation of the Amazon deforestation? There will be a significant loss of species and habitats. The local communities and their health will be disrupted. As I mentioned before, an increase of CO2. And there will be a global water cycle which will be altered. What can be the mitigation effort which are trying different communities to put in place? They're trying to monitor deforestation. expanding land right protection for the indigenous people, reforming a land policy, enacting the deforestation legislation. Each solution has its own strength and weakness, of course. But let me give you an idea. The idea is this one. You see, this in the 20% of the Amazon biome has been lost. And it's estimated that by 2030, the biome will be lost at 27%. So something has to be done as soon as possible to avoid these changes. To give you an example, many years ago, they built what is called the Trans-Amazonian Expressway. And look what they built in the forest. Of course, we understand. They wanted to connect the most important cities of Brazil and other communities, but building such an infrastructure, to give an example, in the Amazon forest has disrupted a large part, a large segment of the Amazon rainforest. Now, this is what is the situation right now. In the atmosphere, right now, we have about 40% of ppm, part per million. We need, for our health, to be at 350 ppm, according to the health scientists, of course, not according to me. So, how much CO2 is in the atmosphere in terms of GT, of gross ton? 1 gross ton is 1 billion metric tons. So, we should have in the atmosphere 750 gigaton of carbon dioxide. So 350 ppm means that we have to be at 1.8 gigaton of CO2 in the atmosphere. So now you understand when I say this big sponge which is absorbing of a lot of gigatons by the forest and by the water bodies. So right now, the Amazon has this gigaton potential. This gives an idea what happened during the time. You know, somehow we have an improvement in the years. No, the green is the carbon removals. The red is the carbon emissions from the forest. You see how it increased. And the violet one is the delta. So you see that, unfortunately, the last one in 2020, there was negative. There was more carbon dioxide which was released than oxygen that was absorbed. Let me show you a short movie.
Wood, a wonderful product that serves humanity in dozens of ways. From shelter to furniture, from paper to cardboard boxes, and from being used as fuel to creating fire. The functions and possibilities of wood are endless, but are they sustainable? Deforestation is formed through the exploitation of wood for fuel, construction, and manufacturing, by purposefully clearing forested land. The consequences of deforestation are actually pretty severe and threaten multiple ecosystems around the world. Nowadays, most deforestation occurs in rainforests, like the Amazon. Almost 20% of the original rainforest in the Amazon has been depleted by deforestation. Until 1920, deforestation was not a particular problem for the Amazon. Since then, population started to grow and tropical rainforests became a target caused by the increasing demand for timber and agricultural expansion for the production of crops and meat. Besides from the most common cause of deforestation in the form of logging, there are some other reasons for deforestation. The slash and burn agriculture is one of the main contributors for deforestation in these areas. People burn down parts of the forest, resulting in a more fertile ground. This only lasts for a couple of years. After that, the ground needs time to recover. The farmers then look for another area to burn down, and the whole process repeats itself. Another major cause for deforestation in rainforests is cattle ranching, the process where forests are cleared to raise cattle, which also contribute to the emission of greenhouse gases through the release of methane. The Trans-Amazonian Highway in 1970 was built to connect Brazil with the cattle ranches inside the Amazon. There was a threefold increase in the area of pasture and ranchlands between 1950 and 1980. The consequences of deforestation can be severe for our planet. It results in carbon dioxide being released to our atmosphere, resulting in higher temperatures on Earth. The carbon dioxide is naturally stored in trees through the process of photosynthesis. When trees are burned, this carbon dioxide is released again to the air. Another consequence of deforestation is the loss of biodiversity. With the occurrence of deforestation, habitats of animals are destroyed. The Rainforest Preservation Society's website reports that tropical rainforests contain over half of the world's known animal species and plants. When forests are logged or burned, it can drive many of these species into extinction. The loss of trees also exposes soil, causing erosion and making plants become more vulnerable to fire as the forest shifts from being a closed, moist environment to an open, dry one. Organizations are fighting against the problems of deforestation in the Amazon, though a lot of illegal activities are hard to track to the channel. Thanks for watching.
So this was a resume, different words of what I say so far. What is that? This is a satellite monitoring of the deforestation in the Amazon. So the yellow area are the yellow area where the trees have been burned, destroyed. I have here another picture from NASA where you see the situation in 2000 and in 2017. This is the forest in 2000, the same forest here in 2017, you see how the dry land is increasing, which is a clear sign that something is happening there. This is again another imagery from satellite. You see how where there are the big cities or developments is burning. And this is again another picture which gives you a major idea, which give you the idea which the priority area which have to be considered to be taken on. Now, there is one project which has been tried to simplify somehow the situation with this matrix. This is the situation in this is the situation in 2017 of the rainforest. And this is what will be in 20 years. Let me go back here. As you see, there is more green land, a lot of yellow, and a lot of red one. If I try to compare the two of them, the 17 and in 20 years, you see the situation, which is not so positive somehow, if things will keep the way they are going right now. However, I have a data of 2022 versus 2023, and somehow there is some small changes which happen. There is a fall in the changes. You see, the yellow one is going down, but still is extremely substantial. This is for the entire Amazon rainforest. If we look at the data only for Brazil, we had some improvement in these years, around these years, but then it went back, increasing the deforestation of the Amazon rainforest. So Brazil is not right now, is not a good player right now. The other countries, they've done better, but Brazil, no. In fact, if you see the map before, the red was very much around Brazil. Of course, we understand that there is also the economy which has to be sustained, but on the other side, there is the entire interest to keep the Amazon rainforest under good health. This is a typical fire where the trees are cut and burned for agriculture. I have another video that I want to show you. Why is not starting? I don't know. Okay, doesn't start, so I can see. Okay, let's move ahead with this. So the global impact of deforestation. So what I'm showing you here, this is what can happen in the Sierra Nevada snowpack. This is a simulation which is being run by a researcher. So as you get more snow, it's more red, and when you get more blue, it's less snow. So you see the situation before and after. So from the simulation they made, with the impact of the changes in the Amazon rainforest, the snowpack, the quantity of snow that we get in the Sierra Nevada would be less and less. So this is a clear impact of this modification of the Amazon rainforest. And what happening there? That once you have a lot of vegetated situation, you have a reduced solar radiation because the trees protect the life of animal and other species. When you don't have it, you have a heat loss, extremely high solar radiation, which does not permit the life of many species. So a major changes of the entire life around the Amazon rainforest. But as I mentioned before, there are some major changes, some things which is happening in the Amazon. You know what is that? You know what they're doing here? Anyone an idea? They have a gold rush right now in the Amazon rainforest. And the way they are attacking what in the water bodies, that's where they're looking for the gold. And there are two impacts. One, they're destroying the water bodies, and the other one, they use mercury to find the gold. So they are contaminating the Amazon rainforest because this is an illegal gold rush which is going right now. One of the tribes more impacted is the Yanomami, because most of the activities are happening in that area right now. But this gives you an idea. This is another picture from the satellite. These are all the areas where the gold rush is happening right now in the Amazon rainforest. And you see how they are destroying the water bodies at the forest. Of course, we are talking about a very vast territory which has to be patrolled and controlled. Here, I give you an idea of the various areas. Of course, when we spoke, we know that the Guyana, the French Guiana, the other, they have a gold. They are looking for gold there since the beginning of colonization. And you see the other areas here in Brazil where there is this gold rush.
Deep in the Amazon rainforest of Brazil, a modern-day gold rush turning into a raging battle. And officials fear the country may be losing its upper hand. An elite unit called IBAMA, part of Brazil's environmental ministry, patrolling the skies in search of illegal gold mine operations that have ravaged indigenous land and triggered a humanitarian crisis. The agents descending from helicopters, tracking down suspects hiding in the dense forest, using zip ties to detain them before setting fire to illegal mining sites and supplies. The head of IBAMA saying they've been treating this operation like a war from the beginning. That message echoed by President Luiz Inácio Lula, who is vowing to deploy full force against the illegal mining, saying Brazil cannot lose a war to people who are breaking the law. But his promise to protect the indigenous Yanomami people of the Amazon rainforest seen as faltering after the Brazilian military pulled back resources from the crackdown operation. And under his predecessor, Jair Bolsonaro, the illegal and legal mining industries experienced what environmental advocacy groups call their golden years, as the right-wing leader pushed for the industrialization of the Amazon. The number of illegal miners surging to an estimated 20,000 during his 4-year term according to the current administration. Paying the price, the Yanomami people, who were dying at alarming rates. In 2023, at least 308 indigenous people died from illegal mining, half of those children under the age of 5. The operations bringing disease, malnutrition, and brutal violence to the Yanomami people. Brazil's health ministry reporting deaths from malaria doubled in 2023.
It's reached a massive proportion because the Yanomami have been ill now for several years. There's very high rates of malaria and particularly malnutrition.
Carne ilegal é muito ruim para nós.
This person saying illegal mining has polluted the Amazon's water with mercury. Environmental and indigenous rights group Instituto Socioambiental says the problem boils down to the miners' impact on the environment, destroying the habitat of animals the Yanomami people hunt, using mercury to process ore, which then poisons the rivers they use for fishing, and creating pools of stagnant water where mosquitoes breed and spread illnesses.
The knock-on effect of the mercury we're going to be seeing in the next few years as babies are going to be born with deformities or with mercury poisoning. So this is a very, very serious health issue.
Os garimpeiros foi embora, voltou, mas depois eles voltam daqui 2, 3 anos, eles voltam de novo.
The Yanomami people enduring an ongoing humanitarian crisis with no sure end in sight.
Stephen Romo joins us now in studio. So, Stephen, let's talk some numbers here. How much gold actually comes from these illegal mines in Brazil?
Yeah, some pretty stark numbers here, Tom. Environmental group Instituto Escoljas actually says that about half of all of the gold, 54% of the gold that comes out of Brazil comes from these illegal mines. And it's all about the money. You got to follow the money, right? About $2 billion a year is believed to come from the gold that comes from the illegal mining, which makes sense why they...
Yeah, I mean, so there is an additional big issue right now in the Amazon rainforest, because as you heard, apparently about 50% of the gold coming out from Brazil is coming from illegal gold mining. And of course, as you see, they are fighting like there would be drug cartels. Because fortunately now the Brazilian administration understand that under the pressure of the various world organizations and other governments, the Amazon rainforest needs to be protected. Now, how this can happen? I always am a believer that the only way that you can really change things is when the humans will make actions, will act to change something. If humans will not act, these things will never change. Now, why I put this picture here? These are the faces of some of the people of the Amazonian rainforest. And I believe that they have a critical role to change the situation in the Amazon rainforest. The rainforest belongs to them. They have been born there. They grow up there. They are taking care of the forest. They respect the forest because it's their habitat. They know how to improve things. So we are in a situation where we have to create a system where the local people will change the situation, because unfortunately all the interest, and tomorrow I have another speech, I'll give you how many interests have been in the Amazon forest in the past and right now beside the biodiversity. Actually, tomorrow morning I will be at 9:30 in the morning, so you will have breakfast with me, the one of you that would like to do that. So only if the indigenous will lead an effort, I think we can have a big changes. Alternatively, we are going to face a situation where any effort we can make worldwide in minimizing the CO2 or the carbon dioxide can fail. Because if we try to minimize small amount in our particularly Western civilizations, because as you know, Asia is not doing a big effort, the amount coming from the Amazon forest will be so big that we never match our small effort that we do daily trying to minimize the CO2. With this, by believing that the local indigenous tribes can change the situation if we support them, I thank you for your time. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you on my next lecture. Thank you. Bye-bye.